If you've ever struggled while layering sounds, this video is for you. I created a 4-step process on how to always layer your sounds to work together, okay, to arrange your beats and your songs. So I created a 4-step process at busyworksbeats.com, and I have a new beat arrangement course coming soon, which will guide you guys through this process that I created. And this 4-step process will not only allow you to layer sounds on top of each other, but arrange your song using these 4 components. And basically you can create a lot of combinations of these components to create really long songs and create change ups. So let's hop straight into FL. What I'm going to show you guys again is my process that I created, and it comes down to 4 layers. Okay, so let's start to talk about these layers first. The first layer is called the top line layer. The top line is your memorable melody. Okay, this is the thing that creates the loop in people's head. Nextly, we have the harmony section. This is where we add chords in our song. Chords are like the glue for a song. And thirdly, we have what's called a contrast layer. The contrast layer is all about adding density to your track. And lastly, we have what's called the rhythm section. Okay, so the rhythm section is to create perception of time in our song. All right, so now that we have those 4 layers, a lot of people ask me, okay, what sounds do we use? It's not always about sounds. I can go deep about sound design, harmonic series and all this. In short, the short answer is the more frequency content your song has, the more hard it sounds, the more aggressive it sounds. The less frequency content, the softer it sounds. That's all you need to know. The more harmonics and frequencies we have, the more aggressive it sounds. The less harmonics, the softer it sounds. And those are really the 2 areas you kind of play with in music anyhow. So let's open up a plugin here. We're going to use some Arturia stuff. So let's say I'm with Arturia and I want to make, some chords. I might pull up the CS80 because it has like Kanye type sounds in here. Okay, and then, I'm going to ask myself, which one of these layers am I trying to create? In this case, I'm going to try to create some chords. So I might go, okay, let's do like the Travis Scott thing. We could play F minor. Let's do F minor. I feel like it vibes a little bit better. So let's record this. So now I'm recording the harmony section. I'm actually also recording what's called the contrast layer. The contrast layer is usually a bass line or a counter melody. The purpose of the contrast layer is to create a contrast between the top line, that's the memorable part. So let's record something here. I'm going to record F minor. Let's record that and then I'll show you guys the MIDI. You guys will get the project files for free as well. 1, 2, 3. I wasn't ready. My finger, he wasn't ready. Okay, let's do this again. 1, 2. Just playing F minor and then F suspended second, which is taking that minor third down, 1/2 step. Nothing crazy. I'm playing it by hand so I can have the velocity. Okay, how hard I hit the notes. Okay, so we already have a very full sound. Why do we have a full sound? Because there's a lot of frequency content. Again, if I showed you guys the sound design principles, you would see that a sawtooth has a lot more harmonic content than a simple sine wave, for example. Let's separate the MIDI here. So here are the 2 chords I played. F minor, the minor chord is 0, 3, 7. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3. Notes up, and then 4, 5, 6, 7 notes up. So that creates a minor chord. Next, we play what's called a suspended second chord at 0, 2, 7. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what creates the difference between the minor and the suspended second. Now, underneath the chords, I'm playing a support layer by layering 2 octaves of bass. And this creates the contrast layer. So what I'll do is I'll go to a different pattern and we will paste this into a new pattern so that it's separated. And I'll show you guys, we already have 2 of the 4 sections already, harmony and contrast, simply by making chords. This is why I start with chords. Let's add some more sounds. We need a top line sound, a rhythm sound, okay? And we can even add more contrast movement. So let's add the mini Moog, which is known for like bass lines. Okay, so now I'm just adding. In my course, I teach what are called expressive layers. So we're going to copy these layers But for these layers, we're going to say top line expression, harmony expression. And what I mean by expression is we're being a little more animated with the notes. Instead of simply just playing the notes, we're going to be like doing note runs, pitch dives, you know, bass slides, different things like that to create ear-catching things. And this is how we extend the layers. Okay, so now we're going to add some contrast expression stuff. The simple kind of explanation, again, I teach all this in my website, busyworksbeats.com/music theory. You guys can sign up for free to learn more music theory. But the short of it is I'm playing the root note. Let me show you guys in the piano roll. I'm playing what's called the root note, which is F. I'm playing a perfect fifth, which is 7 notes up from F. I'm playing F up the octave. And I'm playing the octave, a sharp tonic it's called. You could also play a sharp fifth. So I'm just bouncing around those notes. So that's what I'm doing for the improv here. The chords don't change, so we're just going to stay with F as the root note. And let's record this in. Played it kind of fast there. Okay, it's kind of weird playing that slow. Let's move that to a new pattern. Now we have that as a new pattern. And so we begin to stack these layers. I'm going to make some corrections here just so that we have, you know, my intent in the actual MIDI. I'm just going to quantize some stuff and make sure stuff is overlapped just so it creates a pitch bend effect. And let's add this to the contrast expression. That was a little fast. I need to fix that. There we go. Just editing some of these notes here so they play the right timing. So everything seems to be lined up. I'm just going to quantize a couple more things. All right, so I think everything has its effect now. Let's quantize these root notes. All right, so now we have the contrast layer, we have the harmony section. Now let's find a sound that could be our top line sound. I'm going to open up Pigments. All right, and I think we have the folder. Yeah, we do. So let me go in here. I'm going to go to a folder with Coop the Truth samples in it. Coop the Truth, shout out to Coop the Truth. I think it's called the Ascension One-Shot Kit. Okay, we're going to go to Pigments. We're going to go to where it says here. We're going to go to Sample. And we have 6 layers we could sample. So I'm going to show you guys how to create what are called multi-keys. I'll be a little fast in this video. I would teach more about it, but for the sake of the video, I have to be a little bit faster. So let's see. Can we initialize this synth? I don't know how to do that quickly. So in that regard, we're just going to drag some samples in. We're going to use the guitar. And we want guitar that does not pitch bend. So I'm going to grab this, drag it on layer A. Let's go to layer B. Okay, we want these to be generally the same. Okay, so these are all subtly different, but they sound. Let's grab this one. Now I believe, man, I haven't used this in a minute. Let's go to edit and let's switch these loop points so that we don't have that gap in the beginning. Let's go over to E, drag that to E. Again, get rid of that gap in the beginning here with the loop points under the edit mode. And I'll show you guys how we combine these. I'd recommend at least 6 samples here for this technique I'm about to show you. So now we have all these samples in here, all 6 of them, as long as they're tuned properly, all to the same note. We're going to go to where it says map. Okay, now by default, if I hit a note, it only plays the sample in focus. But I want it to play all of the samples. So let's click on random. Round robin basically plays the samples in a sequence. So it plays A, B, C, D, E, F, A, B, and it keeps repeating. Every time I hit a note, it plays a different sample. But it plays them in order. So if you guys want that, you can play chords this way. So we could play, let's do F minor. And one of these samples sounds weird, so we got to figure out which one sounds weird first. I guess that's a low octave actually. Never mind, it doesn't sound weird. Okay, so we're gonna put this on random. So basically every time I hit a note, it picks one of the 6 samples per note. So I could play 6 notes and they all play 6 random samples. Okay, so you get a really unique sound. I'd recommend doing this with guitar sounds mostly. Let's get rid of some of these things. Now we do have to edit this. I'm trying to keep this part short, but there is a pitch bend in that, so we want to get rid of that pitch bend. We don't want the pitch bend to occur. And let's just drag this somewhere around here. Now we can also set what's called looping. So we could do forward, backward looping. So let's put this on normal, set this to a loop. Let's do forward and backward looping. So anything that's longer, it will loop on itself based on the loop settings that we have here. So I'm going to hold the note here. Let's get rid of the pitch bend section here. We could also use what's called a loop fade to get rid of any clicking and popping. So all these kind of shorter ones, we could actually pull this back and set to loop mode. Let's do forward and backward looping. So now we're taking these little plucks and making them sustained sounds, basically. I'm going to do this per one shot. This does take a little time. I'm not going to lie to y'all. This does take a little time. But for this synth, it's a really unique sound. So let's hear what we've created so far. See how we created a sound here? Now we could do a lot more cool stuff, but you know, to preserve time. Now we could also have it on random, the panning of each sound. So we can go to the voice pan, drag the random mode on, and have it random. So now every time we hit notes, it kind of spreads in its own stereo width. So this is a nice way to layer sounds. I know we did all that just to get here, but let's. So now what I'm going to do here is use, now that sound is more of a texture sound in my opinion. So I'm going to take the chords. We're going to go to a new pattern and paste that into pigments. So now we've added the same thing. So what I like to do is insert another harmony section. And this is how I'm stacking sounds. It's using the same exact chord progression or the similar notes in the chords, and we're just playing a different sound. And what we're stacking one of those 4 components. You know, I'm not just randomly stacking sounds. Let's add the plugin called Transporter in FL Studio. This is a really good plugin for those who want this kind of sound. So this is how you start arranging. You know, now I'm going to start adding a sound, a plugin that adds a very unique sound. And what I want to do is bring that sound in over time, so that we can swap out the harmony section for the new harmony. Okay, it's the same exact notes, it's just a different sound. So it's the same vibe, it's just a different tone. And we still have the contrast notes from the actual CS80. So let's figure out a sound where we can add a top line. And notice I broke out of that 4-bar, 8-bar, you know, cycle that people get in where they can't get out of that 8-bar loop. And that's how you escape, is by taking the music and moving it to a different sound. And understanding these 4 layers to keep everything organized. Let's pick another sound. Let's go to the Prophet here. And I'm just gonna go through some presets because I don't know these sounds off the top of my head. So let's go to maybe some brass tones. Let's go to flute. Okay, so I got the top one. So dun, 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 dun. Using a lot of half steps here. Okay, so at the end I kind of freestyled, but you want to keep, that top line melody very memorable. You want to keep it very simple and repeatable, because people who listen to your song for the first time, they don't want to guess the next note. They want to know the next note. They want to anticipate the next note. And the way you do that simply is simply repeating the same, dun, 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 dun. Whatever I played. Now by the third time, the listener's like, dun, dun, dun. They get it by the third time. So you want to usually repeat those phrases. Those are called motifs. Now what we can do to stack this is think, okay, what other sounds, are known for melody? Let's add some mellotron in here. We're going to copy the same exact notes. We're just going to pick a different sound. I'm going to stick with the flute sound because mellotron is known for, in hip hop at least, for the flutes and the brass and the strings, I guess, technically. All right, so let's add this in, and we're going to have the same thing happen, but this time we're going to play the other flute. Now, to me, this is more of a layering, so let's see if they sound good together. Now, what I might do is, remember we have the top line expressive layer. What I might do is run this flute through Transporter or something more creative to chop it up and mix it. So let's copy the Transporter settings over to the new mellotron. So now what I'm going to do is turn the dry level down and only hear the Transporter effect. So now this turns it into an expressive layer because it's more of a sound effect. Let's hear it by itself. Now because it's being chopped and repeated, this now becomes a rhythm section too. Let's run this through some reverb. Tuck that sound down so it's not so aggressive. But now our song is evolving. And now we just need rhythm. So now I'm going to add some drums. We're not going to make a crazy beat right now. We're just going to... Now we have our sounds. Now we need the rhythm. So I'm going to move a little bit quicker here because this could take a lot of time normally. stuck with drums because we forget we're at 140 BPM, and 2 bars and 140 BPM is really only 1 bar. So imagine repeating the same word, the same word, the same word, the same, like that's not a sentence. And so we want to create longer patterns here by creating small change ups. What I like to do is just combine these, or I'll go here and make it unique so it's a different pattern and just change something small about it. So now it plays pattern 7 and then 8. What you could do is hit Control Shift, left click, highlight every other, click in the top left, go to select source. My head might be in the way, and select the new pattern. Let's change something about the hi-hats. I might record the kicks by hand, just it's faster. Let's record this. Now notice I'm not bringing in the kicks right away. Normally I don't even bring in the bass right away, but bass is kind of known for the Travis Scott sound. Let's bring in the kicks now. So I like to program kicks by hand sometimes just because I like to add small change ups and not do the same thing over and over and over. Let's hit Alt Q, quantize those kicks. Now here's where I start adding soft clippers to the group, just so I can push the drums a little bit harder now that we have the kick and the snare. Let's add Fruity Soft Clipper. Kick just a little bit harder. Let's add some pre-computed effects here. Boost it a little bit harder, more. Make them more harder. All right, some of these kicks are not. I don't know what happened on that. Quantize. See, it's pretty much effortless once you learn this process. And again, I have a new beat arrangement course coming out, so it's going to go deeper into music theory and like how I go about stuff. Now let's add the stuff on top, like the sound effects, you know, the ear candy. This is where the expression layers come into play. So we still have the harmony expression we can mess with, the rhythm expression, like hi-hat rolls, 808 slides, stuff like that, bass slides. Forget what this, oh, that's the kick here. So let's add that in the rhythm area. All right, so now let's find some harmony expression. So expression to me is pitch bending, you know, playing velocity sensitive stuff, crescendo, that type of thing, transition chords, playing chords at the end for like a turnaround sound. Expression with chords can also be arpeggiating them, but that would make it a rhythmic chord. So anyhow, let's just find some sounds we can stack. So notice here I'm going to do the pitch bend. So I'm pitch bending first, pitch down on my pitch wheel. I play a chord, then I let it go. So that's how I get that pitch bend sound. So now we have that chord progression laid in. So let's turn that sound down just a little bit more. And also I like to mess with the effects on sounds like this to make them stand out from the main chords. Let's see if we can mess with some delay and some chorus, just so it has more of a stereo presence. And then if we want more expression, so let's say we want to copy this over time. We have the first layered harmony, we have the textured harmony, we have the expressive harmony. So that could be the hook is bringing in all of these sounds. Now this is probably overkill for this, but let's just hear it. We have a little bit too much going on, and here's why I like to pull back sounds as opposed to just stacking sounds. So instead of layering the textured harmony, let's take that out. Let's take out the contrast layer too. So I'm moving the kicks. I didn't realize the kicks didn't play here. So add the kicks in there. So now we have so many sounds that we're losing dynamic because everything wants to be heard. And so here's where you need to either turn stuff down or remove stuff from the arrangement. I think getting rid of the strings for this part is actually better because now we have less stuff, less frequencies in the way, quite literally. Now I'm just gonna see if we can find some like sound effects to add over top. I don't even know what plugin would have sound effects, so I'm just guessing here. See if some Moog has sound effects in here. Playing the root note for the sound effect. 1, 2. All right, so pretty basic. Now my go-to in real life would be my Prophet 6. It just has nice textural sounds. This one has seems to be a heavy reverb on it. I'm gonna take some of the lows out of that reverb. And what else can we do here? We can just turn that sound down. So let's hear our arrangement so far. And to take this a step further, let's copy this, twice. On the first half, let's get rid of any bass elements. So anytime I want to introduce an idea, I usually save the bass as the exciter element. So let's take out the lower frequencies, unless we do just this chord layer here. Let's see what it sounds like without it. It's a little thin, so let's bring in that. but we're not bringing in that expressive bass line right away. So I just want to point out before we play this whole thing that I'm not thinking, okay, intro, hook, verse, pre-chorus. I'm thinking in terms of energetic flow and variety more than I'm thinking about the name of something. This is what I'm showing you guys is like the science as to why we're choosing an intro, why the hook sounds different, why does the verse feel different, and then how to actually do it. Instead of just giving you guys, do the intro, do the hook, do the verse. That doesn't really teach you much of anything. adding an accent rhythm layer to switch it up. An expressive rhythmic layer. And then we can, let's group the melodies and then send them through like halftime or something. And then, you know, I'll do what I would normally do. So here, to switch up the bass, I'm gonna make this unique. And I'm gonna do da, da, da. Okay, just so it's a little bit different. Then use the half step. So we're just adding little changes over time. So I'm going, you know, with the rhythmic expression, I'm also changing out the contrast expression so that we have a little variety. We don't need to do anything crazy. I might do something like, instead of just having a normal, let's stereo delay it. Let's do it the opposite way. And what else was I about to do? Oh, let's group the melodies here. We only really have the top line and the top line expression layer. Let's find what channel this is on. Channel 5. So we have channel 5 here. We're going to route that to the melody. I know I'm moving kind of quick here, but what we will do, man, it's a lot of W's. What we will do is right click, create an automation clip. And here's where you guys can automate different effects over time to create changes. So now we're slowing down the top line here, which is ultimately bringing it down to a contrast layer. So for something like this, I'm going to just zoom in, group those, remove the snares, and that way we just have the hi-hat and that bass, at least for this part. We don't need this contrast layer at this point. We don't need the harmony because it adds too much harmonic content. This is more of a breakdown here, and then we can bring in the kicks and the drums. So this would be our B section where we don't have all the layers happening. We just have soloed, focused instruments. All right, let's play this one more time all the way through. So if I had to label stuff, you know, the beginning is the intro. We're not measuring bars. We're just, you know, we're working in 8-bar increments. But let's label this stuff just for the people who want the project files. So I would call this the intro. And then over here, we're moving into more of, I guess we could call it the hook, but to me, it's more of like a lead up. So let's call this pre-chorus. You know, we're being technical now. And then here's where the hook begins for my intent. We'll call that the chorus. So the pre-chorus comes before the chorus. That's going to last for about, 2 8-bar increments in that case. And then we're going to move to this like mini breakdown. Now, this is just for this beat. We're going to do a B section breakdown before we go back into the verse. Then right here we have the verse. Mark this. So really we're on verse 1 here, but really the pre-chorus can also be part of a verse. We could really call that a verse, the pre-chorus. But here's the verse. Then we're gonna go right back into the hook. So that's what we have so far. So notice I'm naming this stuff after everything that we did. We're not naming it and trying to build around a name. We're like building with intent first, and then you name your stuff. Let's start from the beginning here. Taking off some chorus effects so it's not overly widened. All right, you guys will get the project files for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory. And that's the process of those 4 layers. So you guys saw from scratch, we made an entire beat with those 4 layers. Go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory to get these project files for free. All right, guys, peace out.